G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's AFL games. Before I start, it will be appreciated if you can subscribe to my channel. Please help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Turning back to the show, before I start, I will review my round 3 loads. The first game, I selected Brisbane to beat Collingwood. That was wrong, damn it. On Good Friday, I selected Carlton to beat North Melbourne. Woohoo, correct. Also, I got the Dockers, right, to beat the Crows. Yeah. The fourth game, I was incorrect. I selected the Saints to beat the Bombers. Stringer kicked the goal with 3 minutes to win the game for the Bombers. Damn it. I got Port Adelaide incorrect to beat the Demons. This one was easy. I selected the Bulldogs to beat West Coast. They won pretty easily, the Bulldogs, so that was easy. I selected Sydney to beat Richmond. That was incorrect. Damn it. And the last game, Easter Monday, I selected Geelong to beat Hawthorn. That was easy. The first game of the week is between the Adelaide Crows and Melbourne Demons at the Adelaide Oval on Thursday, the 4th of April. There are some players in the mix for this week. For Adelaide, the players under consideration are Nankervis and Berry. For the Demons, the players in the mix are Thomason and Fullerton. The Crows will be missing the injured Schoenberg, Sloan, Philthorpe, and ACL knee injuries to both Miller and Murray, whereas the Demons will be missing May, Hunter, Bowie, ex-Crow in McAdam, and Melsham to an ACL knee injury. Last week, the Crows lost to Fremantle by 35 points on Good Friday, whereas Melbourne beat Port Adelaide by 7 points at the Adelaide Oval. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of the Crows ruck midfield setup of O'Brien, Dawson, Crouch, Laird and Berry against the Demons ruck midfield setup of Gawn, Oliver, Winey, Petrarca and Swallow. The Demons midfield is too strong for the Crows. The Demons have a variety types of midfielders that can play inside and outside compared to the Adelaide's one pace inside mids. Based on this, I tipped the Demons to win easily. The Crows were number 1 offensive team last year. They are now a shadow of themselves and are in the bottom half for this stat. I expect Melbourne to do the double on the 2 South Australian teams. The next game is between Brisbane and North Melbourne at Norwood Oval in Adelaide. There are some players in the mix for this week. For the Lions, the players in the mix are Jared Lyons and Gardner. For the Roos, the players in the mix are Bergman, Shields and Phillips. The Lions will be missing McKenna and they'll be missing 3 players to an ACL knee injury in Coleman, Dode and Ashcroft. For the Roos, they will be missing Coleman Jones, Logue and Goda, all to season-ending injuries. Last week, Brisbane lost to Collingwood by 20 points and North Melbourne lost to Carlton by 56 points on Good Friday. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of the Brisbane ruck midfield setup of McInerney, McCluggage, Neal, Dunkley and Berry against the North Melbourne ruck midfield setup of Xeri, Davies Uniacke, Stevens, Scotts and Phillips. The Lions midfield will be too strong for the Kangaroos. The Lion midfielders are season-made players compared to the young, inexperienced North Melbourne midfielders. Based on this, I tipped the Lions to win easily and get their first win of the season. North Melbourne will remain winless after this game and go on a no-win, 4-loss record. The next game is between Port Adelaide and Essendon at Adelaide Oval on Friday night, the 5th of April. There are some players in the mix for this week. For Port Adelaide, the players in the mix are Georgiades, Horne-Francis and Mackenzie. For the Bombers, the players in the mix are Shield and Tisestes. The Power will be missing the injured Lord, Jackson and the suspended Powell Pepper. The Bombers will be missing the injured Ridley, Reid and Peter Wright, who is suspended. Last week, Port Adelaide lost to Melbourne by 7 points and Essendon beat the Saints by 4 points. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of Port Adelaide ruck midfield setup of Soldo, Butters, Rosie, Wines and Drew against the Bombers ruck midfield setup of Goldstein, Martin, Caldwell, Merritt and Sethersfield. Both teams have a good ruck midfield setup. The Power have a variety of midfielders that can play inside and outside, and I'm tipping the Power midfielders to win the battle. Based on this, I tip the Power to win in a close game, and they will be annoyed from their loss to Melbourne last week. The next game is between West Coast and Sydney at Mount Barker, Adelaide Hills. There are some players in the mix for this week. For the Eagles, the players in the mix are Barnett, Rotten and Gaff. For the Swans, the players in the mix are Laddams, Francis and Wicks. The Eagles will be missing Allen, Flynn, Hewitt and Ryan, whereas the Swans will be missing the injured Parker, Mills and Adams. Last week, West Coast lost to the Bulldogs by 76 points, and Sydney lost to Richmond by 5 points in an upset. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be the key. The players of the West Coast ruck midfield setup of Williams, Kinby, Kelly, Sheed and Hunt against the Swans ruck midfield setup of Grundy, Jordan, Rowbottom, Chad Warner and Gordon. The Eagles midfielders are too young against the seasoned veterans of Sydney's midfielders. I expect the Swans midfield to be too strong for the young West Coast Eagles midfielders. Based on my comments, I tip the Swans to win easily, and they will be annoyed from their loss to Richmond last week. The next game is between Fremantle and Cowden at Adelaide Oval. I will be at this match, and I will do a vlog on this game. Players in the mix this week. For Fremantle, there are unlikely to be any changes, whereas for the Blues, the players in the mix are Pitnott, Motlop and Aston Moy. The Dockers will be missing the injured Corbett for the rest of the season, Sean Darcy, Cox and McDonald. The Blues are still missing the injured Walsh, Martin and both Doherty and Savani out for the entire 2024 season due to an ACL knee injury. Last week, Fremantle beat the Crows by 35 points and Cowden beat North Melbourne by 56 points. Both games were on Good Friday. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of Fremantle ruck midfield setup of Jackson, Young, Sarong, Brayshaw and Johnson against the Blues ruck midfield setup of DeConning, Cripps, Kennedy, Sarah and Hewitt. Both teams have good ruck midfield setup. If the Blues midfield even out in this position against Fremantle, they will win the game as they have the powerhouse twin forwards of Kerno and McKay respectively. Even though Pearce and Ryan dominated against the Crows last week, the ball movement of the Blues midfielders will be direct and faster than the Crows midfielders, hence forcing Ryan and Pearce for more one-on-one contests. Based on this, I tip the Blues to win on a neutral venue in Adelaide. Both teams are undefeated and one will lose this coming weekend. The next game is between Western Bulldogs and Geelong at Adelaide Oval. There are some players in the mix this week. For the Bulldogs, the players under consideration are McNeil and Harms. For the Cats, the players in the mix are Stanley and Tui. The Bulldogs will be missing the injured Caulfield, Gardner and Bailey Smith to an ACL knee injury. For the Cats, they'll be missing the injured Ken Guthrie, Rowan and Dangerfield. Last week, the Bulldogs beat West Coast by 76 points and Geelong beat Hawthorn by 36 points on Easter Monday. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of the Bulldogs ruck midfield setup of English, Bontempelli, Treloar, Liberatore and McRae against Geelong's ruck midfield setup of Lichtas, Holmes, Henry, Duncan and Clark. Both teams have good ruck midfield setup. If the Cats midfielders can break even in this position against the Dogs, they will win the game as they have the two powerhouse forwards in Cameron and Hawkins. Based on this, I tip the Caps to win on a neutral venue in Adelaide. The Cats beat the Crows at Adelaide Oval 2 weeks ago. They have confidence in playing at the Adelaide Oval. The next game is between Gold Coast and GWS at Mount Barker, Adelaide Hills. There are some players in the mix this week. For Gold Coast, the players under consideration are Witts, McPherson and Roses Jr. from suspension. For the Giants, the players in the mix are McMullen and Keith. The Suns will be missing the injured Humphries and Weller, whereas the Giants will be missing Ward, Cummings, and Bruce. Last week, both teams had to bye, and now have time to prepare for this game in Mount Barker. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of Gold Coast ruck midfield setup of Witts, Anderson, Rao, Miller, and Flanders, against the Giants ruck midfield setup of Briggs, Tom Green, Kelly, Whitfield, and Coniglio. Gold Coast has a young core midfielders, and the Giants have seasoned veterans midfielders. The Giants midfielders are elite, and Tom Green is dominating in this field and is leading my Brownlow votes. Prior to the bye, the Suns lost to the Bulldogs and were easily beaten against the Bulldogs midfielders. I expect the same to happen against the Giants. Therefore, I tip GWS to win on a neutral venue in Adelaide. They have too much class for the Suns and more quality players. The Giants will stay undefeated at the end of this round. The next game is between Richmond and St Kilda at Norwood Oval, Adelaide. There are some players in the mix for this week. For the Tigers, the players under consideration are Naismith, Cumberland, Ralph Smith, and Martin. For the Saints, the players under consideration are King, returning from suspension, Garcia, and Hasty. The Tigers will be missing the injured Graham, Pressier, Lynch, and Gibcus to an ACL knee injury, whereas the Suns have plenty of players injured. That includes Dow, Henry, Howard, Patton, Clark, Wood, and the suspended Webster. Last week, Richmond beat Sydney by 5 points in an upset, and St Kilda lost to the Bombers by 4 points. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of the Richmond ruck midfield setup of Ancovis, Hopper, Taranto, McIntosh, and Ross against the Saints midfield ruck setup of Marshall, Ross, Hill, Steele, and Philippou. Both teams have good ruck midfield setup. If the Saints midfielders even out in this position against Richmond, they will win the game, as the Tigers have lost Tom Lynch to injury, and the Suns and the Saints gained King from suspension. And so, I expect the Saints to kick more goals with King and Membry as the two marking forwards. Therefore, I tip the Saints to win on a neutral venue in LA. Both teams only have one win for this season. The final game of the week is between Collingwood and Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval. There are some players in the mix. For Collingwood, the players under consideration are Sidebottom, Dean, and Johnson. For Hawthorn, the players under consideration are Butler and Sorrell. The Magpies will be missing Kruger, McStay to an ACL knee injury, and Murphy still from concussion. For the Hawks, the players injured are Blunt to an ACL knee injury, Ganga Barras, Day, Lewis, Wingard, Watson, and CJ. Last week, Collingwood beat Brisbane by 20 points, and Hawthorn lost to Geelong by 36 points on Easter Monday. Where the game will be won, I selected the midfield to be key. The players of Collingwood ruck midfield setup of Cameron, Nick Dacos, Mitchell, DeGoey, and Pendlebury against the Hawthorn ruck midfield setup of Meek, Newcomb, Ward, Nash, and McDonald. Collingwood have world-class midfielders, and the Hawks are a young developing midfield. I expect the Pies to easily win in the midfield and set up their forwards of Elliott and Hill with plenty of scoring opportunities. I tip the Magpies to win this game. Hawthorn will end this weekend winless. The summary of my round 4 tips are: the first game, I expect Melbourne to beat the Crows on Thursday night. The second game, I expect Brisbane to easily beat North Melbourne at Norwood. The third game, I'm tipping Port Adelaide to beat Essendon on a Friday night. In Mount Barker, I expect Sydney to demolish West Coast. The game between Carlton and Fremantle is match of the week, and I'm tipping Carlton to win this game. On Saturday night, I'm tipping Geelong to beat the Western Bulldogs. On Sunday, I tip the Giants to beat Gold Coast. I tip St Kilda to beat Richmond. And the last game of the round, I tip Collingwood to beat Hawthorn. That's the end, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment on my channel. Every subscriber will be appreciated.